Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 2022 Toyota Land Cruiser. We're going to talk about whether or not this is coming to the US market, what the specifications are, and obviously if you should buy it or not. And so yeah, with all that being said, let's get straight into the video. So there are quite a few changes coming for the 2022 Toyota Land Cruiser, and I feel like these are probably the biggest changes that have ever happened for the Land Cruiser. So first off, the biggest change is the engine and transmission. The Land Cruiser is finally getting a more modern engine and transmission. So you guys know, for the longest time, the Land Cruisers had Toyota's naturally aspirated 5.7 V8 that's also been in the Tundra forever. But then the Land Cruiser does have a more modern transmission compared to the Tundra because it's had that 8-speed automatic. However, this new Land Cruiser has a twin turbo V6. That's right, twin turbo V6, and it's paired to a 10-speed automatic, so a much more modern transmission. If you guys are wondering, it's 3.5 liters, and the power outputs are really good. 409 horsepower and then 479 pound-feet of torque. So if you guys know, the power outputs of that 5.7 V8 are 381 horsepower and then 401 pound-feet of torque. So this has a little bit more horsepower and a lot more torque than the previous engine. And so it's going to make it drive substantially different. The acceleration should be just so much better from the transmission perspective, but then also from the power perspective. And then apparently there's also going to be a diesel engine. Now I doubt this will ever come to the US. This will be overseas, and the diesel engine will be a 3.3 liter, and it'll have 304 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. That would be an awesome engine to have here in the US, but again, those diesel engines usually aren't as popular here, so I doubt we'd ever see that. Aside from that, they are also changing the actual body with it. You guys can see the pictures, how it looks a little bit different front and rear, but they're shaving a lot of weight, 440 pounds compared to the last Land Cruiser. Now I imagine a lot of that has to do with the fact that this has a smaller engine compared to the last generation, so I think that that is kind of a big part of the weight savings, and then also some other stuff. And then also it will be better on fuel economy. So you guys know that the current Land Cruiser gets pretty bad fuel economy, right? It's in the teens. This will be up by 10%, so you'll probably be able to get low 20s on the highway with it. And then aside from that, just like all of the other modern Toyotas, it will have all of the safety tech that you can get from the newer models. And so just pretty much the biggest thing is with the powertrain and with the weight savings, and then it'll just kind of have like a newer interior with all of the new safety tech. So if you guys have seen like the new Highlander, for example, imagine a lot of the stuff from that interior and safety tech wise will be carried over into this new Land Cruiser as well. And yeah, that's pretty much everything in terms of the specs on the new Land Cruiser. Pretty exciting. And in terms of there being a Lexus variant on this, there hasn't been much said on that. But typically what they do is they pretty much just have different sheet metal for the Lexus, and it's pretty much the same SUV and then a lot more expensive. So I don't really think it needs its own video, but now let's get into whether or not this is coming to the US market. I guess we'll kind of make this all into one point in terms of this coming to the US market and then if you should buy it. So first off, there's no confirmation on whether or not this is going to come to the US market. Toyota says that they'll let us know, but they aren't confirming anything. And it sounds like there for sure won't be a 2022 Land Cruiser for the US market, so we might get it for the 2023 model year. Now, let's get into whether or not you should actually get the Land Cruiser. And here's what I have to say. If they bring it to the US market, I think this new Land Cruiser will actually be worth it. Now, I know some people have some concerns about reliability with the twin turbo V6, but if memory serves me right, they've had that engine in the LS500 for quite some time. Let me know in the comment section below if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they've had that engine in the LS500 for quite some time. And I love the engine in the LS500, how it drives. Now, obviously it doesn't sound as good as the V8, but the torque that you get and the response that you get from that engine is definitely worth it. And so just given the fact that they've had it for a while, I think that reliability shouldn't be a concern. And then as for the 10-speed, I don't know what 10-speed they're using. I couldn't find anything on the exact transmission. If you guys know a little bit more than what I can find, then put that out in the comment section below so we can kind of help everyone out. But the only 10-speed that I'm familiar with that Toyota has is the one in the LC500 that's made by Aisin. I don't think they'll use that for the Land Cruiser because that wouldn't be very good for off-road. It's kind of more of like a performance type transmission. So I'm sure this will be a little bit different in terms of what they have in the LC500, but still I'm sure it'll shift quicker than the 8-speed, and then on top of that, it'll lend to a little bit better fuel economy. And so overall, I think that it's actually going to be worth it, because it's going to look, I mean, I like how it looks compared to the previous generation. Now, the previous generation still looks really good, but I think this looks a little bit better. It's going to have a nicer interior. It's going to have more tech and more safety tech as well. And then I'm sure with that weight savings and some other stuff that changed, it'll be more capable off-road. And then on top of that, again, that twin turbo V6 is going to be awesome. You guys know that I had a Gen 2 Raptor with the EcoBoost. Now, I know, completely different engine, but at the same time, similar concept, right? It was a twin turbo V6 as well. And I loved how that engine performed off-road. Now, yes, there are certain circumstances where it was a little bit annoying with the turbo lag, but for the most part, it performed just perfect. And on top of that, it still got pretty good fuel economy, even when I was hammering on it, versus a naturally aspirated V8, right? It's not going to get as good fuel economy, and when you hammer on it, right, it's going to be even worse. Versus that twin turbo V6, I'm sure the fuel economy on road and off road is going to be better. And so I'm really excited about it, and I think it's worth it if they bring it to the US market to get, because it sounds like it's going to, again, just be nicer interior wise and exterior wise. It's going to be more capable. It's going to get better fuel economy. It's actually going to have solid acceleration because of how much power and torque they're going to have compared to the previous generation. And so overall, it sounds like it's just this huge improvement. And then I guess I'll delve into the Lexus side of things a little bit. So there is a chance that we might not get the Land Cruiser at all, and they might just release the Lexus version. Now, is that one worth it? It really just depends. So typically, like I said in the past, the Lexus version has just been the same thing that you can get from Toyota, but just a little bit more dressed up, right? And I mean, it just depends on if it works with your budget and everything, but typically the Lexus version hasn't been as appealing because, like, it's literally the same vehicle, just different sheet metal on the outside. I mean, the LX 570, for example, basically that's what it is versus the Land Cruiser. And so it's like, oh, do you want to get the Land Cruiser for 80 grand or an LX 570 for 100 grand, and they're the same vehicle, right? It's like, okay, I'm always going to get the one that's cheaper. And I feel like the Land Cruiser always aesthetically, in just my opinion, I feel like it looks better. I want you guys to let me know what you think on that, but I feel like it just looks like it's a nicer vehicle versus the Lexus. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know. I feel like the Toyota styling on that particular vehicle looks a little bit better, but there's a lot of Lexuses where it's the opposite, where the Lexus definitely looks better. But yeah, there's kind of my thoughts on whether or not you should get the new Land Cruiser if they bring it to the US market. That's going to sum things up for today's video on the 2022 Toyota Land Cruiser. As always, if you guys want me to talk about a vehicle that hasn't been released yet, let me know what vehicle you want me to talk about in the comment section below. And then, as always, if you're stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And then finally, as always, if you feel like my videos are of value to you, I'm going to include a link to my Patreon in the description down below. I'd really appreciate your support on that platform. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.